we wait on those questions to come in, would you mind giving us a brief comment on Georgia making it back to the SEC championship game this season?
Yeah, we're excited and honored to represent the SEC East, and we really feel like that our team has gotten better throughout the year. We've had a really young team, and they've grown up throughout the season, and they've got a big challenge in front of us now, playing one of the best teams in the country. And I know our guys are excited about getting back to Atlanta because that's always a goal for the program here at the University of Georgia, to have an opportunity to go play for a championship, what's one of the best conferences in the country, and we know what's at stake. So our kids are excited, and we're looking forward to starting our prep on Alabama.
Thank you, Coach. For any questions, press *1, and we'll begin with Murray Poole of Bulldog Illustrated.
When several of these seniors, Damon Harris, Isaiah Buggs, and all were there, but I think Quentin Williams there, a big redshirt sophomore lineman, wasn't there on defense, of course, but what would you say about him? He's had a great year, and I guess he's going to be one of the very top defensive guys you've faced all year.
Well, Murray, I missed the beginning of your question. I caught where you were talking about Isaiah Buggs maybe, and Quentin, you said something about Quentin Williams. But, yeah, the last season I was there, Quentin was one of the commits, and certainly a very talented player. I think anybody would tell you he's improved immensely over the last couple of years. He's a guy that's developed and gotten better with each year, and he's playing at a really high level.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Alex Byington of the Montgomery Advertiser. Alex, are you there? Try us again. Alex Byington with Montgomery. Can we open up his line, please?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead,
Yes.
Alex.
Okay. Hey, sorry about that. Just given the way the season ended last year, how much did this matchup, Georgia-Alabama, feel like an inevitability throughout the season?
I don't know that it was inevitable. I mean, certainly both of us had to win some football games to get to it. But I think last year's game is last year's game, and our kids are really focused on playing good football. That's really all we've worried about for the last 5 to 6 weeks since the LSU loss, is moving forward and trying to grow as a team and get better, and that's been our focal point. It really hasn't been much about last year.
Thanks, Kirby.
Next we'll go to Steve Moulton of WZZN.
Hey, Coach, how are you today?
Doing good, Steve.
The development of your wide receiver core, I was hoping you could speak on the development of that core and how they've developed this year, Coach.
Yeah, they've improved with each week. I think their confidence overall, there's kind of been every game's kind of had a different layout with different wideouts kind of being able to showcase their abilities. It doesn't happen by planning by us. It happens by what defenses do and kind of what we get dictated to us by the coverages and how they play us. But I think they developed. I think they played really hard. They've been a huge asset on special teams. I think 6 of those guys start on special teams and do all kinds of things to make our team better. And they've really bought into being a physical core unit, and that's what makes them different.
With Bama's front 7, how big of a challenge is this going to be for the offensive line on Saturday, Coach?
Well, it's always a challenge. Alabama's always separated themselves in regards to the offensive and defensive lines, and this team is no different. They've got extremely talented offensive line, extremely talented defensive line. So that's who they are. There's no bones about it. There's no way around it. They're good on both lines of scrimmage, and that's where they try to control the game. And it'd be a great challenge for offensive line. They get to go against a really talented group.
Thank you, Coach.
Next we'll go to David Pascal, the Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Hey, Kirby. Yeah, obviously these two teams played for the national championship. Back in July, these two teams were the overwhelming favorites to win their respective divisions. This has obviously been a good league, a lot of 8 and 9 win teams in the SEC this year, but what is kind of separating Alabama and Georgia from the rest of the pack right now?
Well, common thing would be quarterback play, and third down conversions and, protecting the ball, not turning the ball over a lot. Those are similarities. Both got good set of backs, good set of receivers. Both teams are scoring points. Biggest difference is they play better defense, obviously, than we have, and we've got to improve upon that. But I think both teams are good football teams. That's why they're representing their divisions in the conference championship, and both teams continue to get better.
And Kirby, if I could take you back when you were Alabama's defensive coordinator, when you had those back-to-back SEC championship games against Florida, losing the one in 08 and winning the one in 09, a lot of Bama players said after that 09 game that, at the beginning of the year, y'all said Florida is who y'all need to knock off to where y'all need to go. Y'all are kind of in that situation with Alabama. How do you balance the goal of improving from within and then focusing on who you've got to take down to get to where you want to go?
Yeah, I wouldn't say in 09 that our goal was to take down Florida. It was to take down whoever was in our path, to be honest with you. I've never been around really good teams that are focused on other teams. The good teams I've been around are focusing on whoever they play that week, and it's really not been different for us this year. I mean, we've really tried to hone in on what we've got to do and what we got to do to get better, and our concern can't be with Bama all year. We wouldn't be here. So it's a concern now because we've got to go play them. So we've got to go play a good football game. We've got to execute. We got to do a good job in order to, play one of the best teams in the country. So, we've never looked at it as it's all about them or all about us. We just got to do a good job executing.
Thank you.
Next we go to Mike Griffith of Dog Nation.
Prepared for some of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in SEC history. What makes Tua so special, and what have you seen this season out of him?
Mike, that thing turned on a little late. Can you repeat that question?
Yes, sir. I said obviously you've prepared for some of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in SEC history, and you got an eyeful of Tua last year. What makes Tua so special, and what have you seen from him in terms of his progress this year?
Makes him special. He's got an elite arm talent. He's really fast. He's got really good wide receivers around him. He's got powerful backs, and he's got a talented tight end and a great offensive line. And he knows where to go with the ball. He's got great vision downfield. He's got the ability to look off safeties. He can throw the touch pass. He can throw bullets. He's really good at the RPO game. And then on top of all that, he can run. So he's a lot to take in. I think you see that by their scores and what they've been able to do. So the challenges are to be able to cover people, be able to affect the quarterback, be able to tackle people in open space, take advantage of mistakes. And he's certainly a very talented, and I don't look at him just as dual threat. I mean, I look at him as a talented pocket passer because that's where he does a lot of his damage.
And following up on that, your secondary hasn't given up a lot of chunk plays. Your front seven looks to have improved. Can you assess where those units are at as far as your secondary, the confidence you have in them, and then just where you feel like your front seven is right now?
Yeah, I've commented all year. We're work in progress, and progress is about it's about over. So it's season's coming to an end, and we're still in work in progress. So we've got to show improvement, and we've got to change gears because what we did last week is nothing to do with what we're going to have to do this week. And when you look at the players and the players that played, I mean, we'll have different guys in the game. We'll have it's a different mode. It's completely different. So we'll have to get them ready to play, and that's our job as coaches to prepare these guys this week. And I'm certainly excited about the opportunity our guys have gotten to go cover what is one of the most elite group of skill players I've seen assembled in college football. When you look at the wideouts they've got a bunch of them, and they're really good. And then they got some toys they can do things with, and then they've got tight end. And they got really good backs. So with all those things, we've got to play a really good football game, and our kids are excited for the opportunity.
Next is Matt Fortuna, The Athletic.
Hi, Kirby. Would you look back at that first college staff with Coach Saban in 2007 and some of the lessons that everyone kind of learned going through some of the times from a win-loss perspective? And how do you think, what signs did you see at the time that showed you that kind of success was going to come pretty soon?
Man, I hate to say this, but the thing went out again. You said something about 2007. We're talking about the Bama season, 2007, or? Yeah,
you and Coach Saban's for Coach Saban's first season at Alabama when you guys were all together.
And you're asking what about that year?
I was asking what did you guys learn as a staff, and you particularly, sometimes, and how you saw some success coming in the near future, even if it didn't show through the win-loss record in 2007?
I think it was more about recruiting at that point in time, and getting players to buy in and believe in the principles and values that we preached. You come in, not everybody jumps on board right away. There's guys that say, you know what, I'm going to keep it my way, and I'll get out of here before this guy ever makes it. And then there's other guys that buy right in and try to sell it to others. And certainly 2007, we didn't have a program where everybody was completely bought in yet, but we were Coach does a great job organizing things, and he had everything in order, and guys started to buy in. As they bought in, we won more games, we recruited and got better players. It was certainly a process, and as that happened, we got better and better, and I think that's the way you build a program. You build it on a foundation that you want to be consistent and you want to be long-term.
Thank you.
Next we'll go to Chip Towers of the AJC.
Kirby, how are you?
Doing good, Chip.
Hey, we've talked a little bit about the LSU game, but specifically, when you guys came out of that game and came back to Athens, what were some of the things that you guys discussed as a staff about we've got to address this, whether it be from a strategic standpoint or personnel, because obviously you guys played markedly better from that point on?
Well, there's a lot of things. We just didn't, we didn't handle the atmosphere well. We didn't play our best game, and we didn't coach our best game. So it wasn't all the players, and it wasn't all the scheme. It was a lot of things combined. And a lot of things happened in that game that were really close to going our favor, and we've kind of belabored those things. But at the end of the day, we didn't put our best foot forward, and we talked about moving forward, saying, hey, we're going to really hone in on things, get good at this, get good at that, and not worry about the rest, and take the players that really want to be a part of it, want to buy into it, and get them out there and play, and made a commitment to playing some of the younger players. And as they've played better, and that's the only way to grow some of these young guys is to get them out there and put them in the game and let them make mistakes.
When you look back at that specific point in the season to where you are now, are you pleased with what you saw happen?
As far as the progress made since that game?
Yeah, I mean, there's objectives, and then there's meeting those objectives. Obviously, you guys didn't lose again, but I'm sure. I mean, you look at it so much differently than we do in that regard.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's things we've done better each and every game, but there's a vast amount of improvement that can be done. And I think the only way you improve is you kind of iron sharpens iron, and you go compete against each other, and you get better, and you keep working. I mean, we're not where we need to be by any means. And I think offensively we're playing, good football. We're being very efficient. And when you're efficient, you give yourself a chance. But defensively, we certainly got to improve.
Thanks.
Next is Joseph Goodman of Birmingham News.
Yeah, Kirby, hey, how you doing?
Doing good.
Great. So the offense has changed a lot since you've been there at Alabama. Are you surprised that Nick Saban even went this way to such a fast-paced, high-scoring offense as compared to his usual in the past grinded-out running games?
No, not surprised. I mean, I was there during some of Lane's time where it was very high-paced, high-scoring, and up-tempo, and Lane always leaned on that. He certainly wanted to do that as much as possible, and they're doing a really good job of it now. They can mix tempos. I mean, they can run power game at you. They just can score faster doing it another way, and they certainly got a lot of talent at the wide receiver position, quarterback position, like I've talked about. So, I mean, if they can score, they're going to score, and they're good at it. And he's doing what he does, what they do best. And I think a lot of that credit goes to Coach Loxley and Coach Enos and their offensive staff. I mean, they've got a who's who studded cast over there on offense of coaches that allow them to prepare. A lot of their support staff I've known for a long time, and there's guys that have been in pro ball, been coaches in pro ball that are over there, and they get great ideas. They got great players, and they put the package together, and they're really aggressive with it.
Okay, so as a follow-up, this team has been outscoring opponents by over 20 points all season. How do you stop this offense?
Well, you gotta play good. You gotta be able to cover people. You gotta be able to affect the quarterback. You got to try to make them one-dimensional, but sometimes one-dimensional for them is just they're okay with it. They want to be able to attack you down the field, attack you vertically, and you got to play good football. Look, I don't think there's anybody that's going to go out there and stone cold these guys. When you watch them play, you see them score points. So you got to do a good job creating turnovers, creating lost yardage plays, and you got to make plays on the ball when you're not looking at it. When you're not in phase and your back's to the ball, you're going to have to make some plays on the ball because they throw the ball vertically down the field.
Thanks, Kirby.
Next is Steve Moulton of WDZN.
Yes, Coach. I was hoping you could possibly update us on the health of Monty Rice.
Yeah, Monty wasn't able to play Saturday. He's down to one crutch, and he's trying to get back. I was talking to him after the game. He feels much better, but he's not 100%. I'd know a lot more probably tomorrow after practice.
And further, I mean, with what you saw out of Tua in the national championship game compared to seeing on tape this year, what areas have you seen improvement, most improvement, or has he? Does he look like he did back in the national championship game, Coach?
Well, he looked real good in that one, but he looks really good now. He's definitely improved. He's confident. You can see it's just the experience of playing in games and being able to go in and affect the other guys, and the trust and confidence and timing. And I think quarterback coach he's got there, Coach Enos, does a great job, and he's really developed. He's gotten better, and you can tell he's playing with a lot of confidence.
Where has Jake Fromm gotten better this year, Coach?
Same. He's gotten more confidence. I think he's comfortable with things. He knows where people are now. He knows the protections better. He's got a trust in the offensive line that's been playing well for him, and he's also got a run game that he's able to rely on. If things get hairy, he's able to put us in the right run and make it a positive play. Staying away from a lost yardage play. A lot of our runs turn into 2- and 3-yard runs, but they make third down much more manageable.
With someone you have like Rodrigo.
Hey, Steve, we can come back to you. We got to get some more on, okay? Next up, let's go to Barrett Sallee of CBS Sports.
As what Steve asked about the running game and what you said, DeAndre Swift injured earlier in the year. He came on strong. How delicate and how careful with you early in the season with him, and how banged up was he?
It's hard to measure that because it's not a injury that you can test and measure. It's a feel. It's a personal feel for how he feels. And he had some things in the spring that bothered him with that growing, and there were a couple instances in the early in the season that he felt it and it bothered him a little bit. And we obviously wanted to keep him fresh and try to keep him healthy. So it was a topic of conversation in some early games, but there was never a point where we were like, "Hey, we got to get him out of there. He's hurt." It wasn't like that. It just kid went out and competed and played hard in a lot of early games, and as the season went on, I think he's gotten better and better.
And as far as your linebackers go, obviously you lost a lot of guys last year, and the run defense over the last month has been significantly better. What clicked with those guys, and how do you assess their progression from game 1 to game 12?
Well, I think as a unit we've gotten better. It's never the run game is never, one group, the D line or the linebacker. I mean, secondary is really tied into the run support and run defense. So it's on all of us, and we've improved on that because we've worked hard on it, and we've gone against our offense. And I think that those are only ways we can get better is to really preach the fundamentals. And we had some sloppy tackling in the LSU game, and that probably hurt us more than the schemes. We just didn't tackle real well, and we've got to tackle well in this game. They got really good skilled players. Doesn't matter if it's back, tight end, or receiver, but when you start giving them yards after the catch, it adds up.
Thanks, Kirby.
Yep.
Next is Blake Topmeyer, the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Hey, Kirby, I know he's been dealing with an injury, but just in general, how would you describe what you've gotten out of Cade Mays this season?
Very dependable. He's a kid that came in, has played every position except for center. He's played 4 positions on our offensive line. He's been very intelligent. He's been able to go in, plug and play. This guy gets hurt, he goes in, he pops in there, he takes 3 or 4 reps at each position during the week, and he's able to go in and communicate and function, and that's been big for us. He's really physical and really tough guy, and those qualities are pretty important in offensive linemen.
Do you expect you'll have him back for Saturday?
Don't know that yet.
Thanks.
Next is Michael Cascrandy of AL.com.
Hey, Kirby, just wondering in general, what's the biggest difference between this team you'll bring in Saturday compared to the team that you had in January against Alabama?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I feel like we're probably not quite where we were special teams-wise last year. We've been really good in some areas, and we've really struggled in some. So we've been up and down, where last year I felt like we were a little more complete special teams unit. Defensively, we just had so much experience. We were playing with, guys with 30 and 40 starts. And some of them were, they weren't that talented. They played, they had a lot of experience. Now we've got a little less experience on that side of the ball, and we've got a little more experience on our offensive side of the ball, minus 2 really good backs. So it's a very different team, a very different personality team, but they have been very effective and been very good leaders.
Thank you.
Next we'll go to Mark Weiser, the Athens Banner-Herald.
Like Quentin Williams, and what do they need to do to keep him out of the backfield?
Didn't get you, Mark, call the very end of something about the backfield.
I was saying, what kind of challenge is it for Lamont Gilliard and the offensive guards facing a guy like Quentin Williams, and what do they need to do to keep him out?
Well, it's the ultimate challenge. I mean, you're playing one of the best football players in college football. He's extremely quick, extremely athletic. He uses his leverage well. He's powerful. Obviously, Raekwon was extremely disruptive last year and a really good football player. So, they've got really good football players. We are well aware of that. And biggest thing is, being fundamentally sound, playing with good pad level, and being able to put ourselves in positive situations in the right plays. I don't think you go out there and just stone these guys. They got good football players. You've got to do a good job mixing things up. You got to stay balanced, and you got to stay consistent with it.
And you guys obviously have been throwing the ball around well down the stretch here. What do you make of the matchup with their young corners?
Well, first of all, they got 2 really good corners, and they're good football players. and our guys have been having good timing and running good routes, and we got a competitive group of receivers, so I think it'll be a good matchup.
Thanks.
Next we have Anthony Dasher of GeorgiaSports.com.
You talked about a lot of the young kids you've had playing for him, and particularly a lot of freshmen who have contributed this year. 13 games in now, is it a case where they're no longer freshmen, or you still get a little bit concerned about maybe some of that youthful exuberance in a big game like this?
No, I mean, I think that anytime you look at the each freshman is different. I mean, we got some freshmen that have it never affects them. The moment's never too big for them. They go play, and then other freshmen probably get more anxiety than others, and each one's different. So, the ones that handled it well early will probably handle this well, and the ones that got nervous early will probably be nervous for this one. But each one's different, and each one's kind of separated out. I know this. They've bought in and are playing really hard for us, and they're gaining confidence in the games they've been able to get experience and play in.
And in particular about Adam Anderson, the kind of progress he's made. He really seemed to be play pretty well of late.
Adam's growing. He's getting better. He's taking on a role on special teams, and he's developing. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of good instincts. He's become a lot more serious about learning his assignments, which has given us an opportunity to place some responsibility on him, and he continues to get better at that.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, that's going to wrap you up. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you on Friday in Atlanta.
Okay, thank you, guys.
We'll get a few things reset internally, and we'll continue in just a moment with Alabama and Nick Saban. While we're waiting, just a reminder that we'll have a student-athlete teleconference tomorrow. That will be at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. 3 from each team will be available in 10-minute segments, and we will send out that information as well as the 6 participants later on early evening today.
He's ready to go. So I called in the number you gave me because they didn't call me, and I'm just sitting here. I don't know what else to do. Hello? Chuck, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Josh. I think we are ready to continue if you are.
Great. Yeah, let me grab Coach.
All right, we're ready to continue our call this afternoon with Alabama head coach Nick Saban. Coach, welcome to the call. Welcome back to Atlanta. While we wait on questions, would you mind commenting as you prepare for the SEC championship game?
Well, we think it's a great opportunity that our team has created for themselves to have a chance to play in the SEC championship game. You know, we think that's outstanding competitive venue against a really good team, probably one of the most complete teams in the nation in terms of offense, defense, special teams, and they're very well coached. Kirby's done a really good job. His staff has done a great job. They've got some really impressive wins. You know, they're ranked, very highly in a lot of categories, and this will be the most challenging game that we have all year. So, I'm really proud of our guys for what they've been able to accomplish so far this year, and this is why guys come to this school is they get to play in games like this and against great teams, and this will be a great challenge for us.
For questions for Coach, please press *1 to get in the system, and we'll start things off with Bill Bender of the Sporting News.
Hello.
Bill, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Bill Bender, go ahead.
Hello, Coach. Good afternoon. I know you're a coach that wouldn't take a conference championship appearance for granted, but with the constant playoff talk, 18 playoff talk, do you have a long-term concern for what these games might mean in the future?
Well, we've been in this game, and we've always played a really good team, most of the time a team that would be a playoff caliber team. So, and I don't think there's anything different about that this year. I think, it's the playing field is not level for all teams relative to conference championship games. They have them, they don't have them, who they play, who they don't play. But it is what it is, and it's the challenge that we have before us. And I don't really have an opinion right now on, expanding playoffs and eliminating championship games and all that. I really just never ever thought about it. I just kind of think about what we have to do right now, and we got a heck of a challenge ahead of us in this game.
Thank you.
Next is Murray Poole of Bulldog Illustrated.
Stupendous and great. The second half is it that a case?
Hey, Murray, could you start your question over, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Nick, I was saying the first half of the last couple of games, the offense has been a little slow getting started, but you had great second halves. And is that just a matter of simple execution? The guys kind of building up, or can you put your finger on that?
Well, I have not been pleased with the way we played in the first half in the last two games on really either side of the ball. We don't seem to have the kind of intensity, mental energy to start the game that you'd like to see in your team or that we had earlier in the season. So we want to play for 60 minutes in the game. So if we don't start out well, we want to start out better. And if we don't finish well, we want to finish better. So these are all things that we need to focus on improving on.
Okay, and my other question to follow up is, I know everybody's talking about Tua, rightfully so, having just a great year. How gratifying it is to see Jalen Hurts come in and and do some really good things like he did against Auburn.
Well, I think Jalen has shown a lot of class this year, and the way he's handled the situation that he's in. He's been a great team guy. He's been very supportive of his teammates, and when he's got an opportunity to play, I think he showed that he's improved dramatically. Even though he hasn't played all the time this year, he's made a lot of progress as a player in practice, and we have a great amount of confidence that he can go in and do the job if we need him to.
Next, we'll go to Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Good. Hey, I know Mike Loxley's semifinalist for the Burroughs Award, and just wondering the kind of job you think he's done this year, and what makes him like a worthy guy to maybe win that award.
Well, I think Mike has done about as good a job as anybody in the country could do in terms of the way the players have responded to him, the way he's implemented the system that we have, the way he's used the players, that we have on offense on our team, and the success that we've had is certainly, a reflection on the job that he has done. So I certainly think he's a very worthy, and we're really fortunate that to have someone of his caliber and quality here on our staff that has the experience that he has, and he has done a fabulous job for us.
Thanks.
Next we'll go to David Pascal, the Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Hey, Nick, obviously these two teams played for the national championship last season. In July, you guys were the overwhelming favorites to win your divisions. You're here again now. It's been a good year for the league, a lot of 8 and 9 win teams, but what has kind of separated Alabama and Georgia, do you think, right now from the rest of the pack?
Well, I can speak to Georgia, just, kind of watching them through the year. They have a lot of really good players, very talented guys that are very well coached. They play hard. They're very disciplined. They've got great balance on offense. They can run the ball. They can make explosive plays. The quarterback's very efficient in the passing game. Defensively, they're ranked very highly in all categories in terms of stopping the run, pass defense. They've got some very explosive guys on special teams. They're one of the best punt return units. They've got a great kicker. They've got good specialists. So, this all around is just a really, really good team. And, we didn't play everybody in their division, and I don't know those teams as well as maybe sometimes when you're playing somebody, but they have been a pretty dominant team all season long.
And I wanted to take you back a decade, if I could, to when you played Florida back-to-back for the SEC title games. Obviously, the first one didn't go your way in 2008, and the second one did in 2009. When you're in that situation of knowing that you've got a team you've got to knock off, how do you balance that challenge? Because you're always obviously wanting to develop and focus on within, but how do you balance that when you've got another team out there that kind of is standing in your way?
Well, I think every team that we play is standing in our way. I mean, in our league, I think that you have to play well every week. There's a lot of teams that are capable of beating you if you don't bring your A game, and this team obviously has accomplished more than anybody we've played all year in terms of their record, the success that they've had, all season long and all phases of the game. So this is obviously even a bigger challenge, but I'm not sure that you approach the game a whole lot different in terms of the kind of mindset you need, kind of preparation you need to have, kind of execution you need to have. When you play against the best players, I think you should assume that we're going to play against some of the best players we played against all year, and I think every day when you prepare, that's how you need to try to prepare.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Alex Byington of the Montgomery Advertiser.
Hey, Nick. Given the way the national championship game ended, especially that second half that y'all put up, and all the talent returning, did it ever feel like this year that this would be the matchup in the SEC championship, that you versus Alabama, kind of a rematch, so to speak?
Well, I really thought that, in playing Georgia last year and, knowing the kind of players that they had coming back, and the job that they do there, the job that Kirby does with his entire staff, that they would have an excellent chance to come back in the game. I never really thought much about, how our team would develop. You hope your team develops. You always have a lot of holes to fill. You've got a new team, and so we were just trying to focus on what we could do to, get our team to be able to play as well as they could play, and hope that that was good enough to win our division. And as it turns out, even though we don't have a lot of depth in some areas and we've lost some key players in some places, we've been able to overcome those things and feel fortunate to have the opportunity to play in the SEC championship game.
And secondly, what have you seen? You obviously have seen tape and watched prom quite a bit, but what have you seen from Justin Fields and what he's been able to do for Georgia coming in off the bench?
Well, he's certainly got an outstanding skill set. I mean, the guy is a very athletic guy. He's a good runner, but he also has a capacity to make any throw that he needs to make. He's got a strong arm, and he's fairly accurate, and a very athletic guy in the pocket. So both guys are outstanding players. Jake does a great job of managing their offense. He's very accurate, very, very poised in the way he executes, and he's got a lot of confidence in the system and scheme, and does a good job of helping all the skill players that they have make plays, whether it's running or throwing.
Thanks, Nick.
Next we'll go to Chip Towers of the AJC.
Nick, I could almost envision you sort of rolling your eyes at this question because of so much was asked about it last year. But when it comes to Kirby, and obviously he has used a template that he took from you at Alabama and brought it over here to Georgia, or even now, a year later, you're running headlong into his program again. Are you proud on some level of that? How do you view what you've seen, the growth in Kirby Smart as a coach from that guy you first hired down at Miami?
Well, I actually hired him at LSU, so
it's
even longer than that. But anyway, no, I think Kirby has done a fantastic job, and no surprise to me. Georgia has always had a pretty good program, no doubt, and he has taken it to the next level. They've done an outstanding job of recruiting good players, but they've also done a really good job of developing the players and getting the players on their team to play at a high level on a consistent basis. So I always like to see, guys, hey, we grew up with Kirby and we were there when his children were born, and know his family and have a tremendous amount of respect for him and appreciate the great job he did for us for 9 or 10 years or however long he was with us. And, you always like to see those guys do well. When you compete against them, it's really not personal, at least not to me. I'm for trying to get our team ready to play the best that they can play for our players' sake, and I'm sure he's going to do the same thing for his team.
You guys, and one other thing, it's easy to look and see, common opponents, and you guys have just, your margins of victory and that kind of thing have just been so impressive this year. Is there any concern, is there anything to be worried about in terms of your own guys knowing what you've been able to do? I don't know, overconfidence or what? Is that a danger in a game like this, or is it just out the window because the stakes are so high?
Well, I think you always want your team to have the right mindset. And I don't think there's any question that our players are going to have a tremendous amount of respect for Georgia, what they've accomplished, what they've done. We played against them last year, and it was a tremendous football game right down to the overtime. So, I think we'll have the right sort of mindset and respect for the team that we have to play. It's always a concern when you have success. Are players going to continue to focus on doing the things they need to do to improve and get better? And that's always been a challenge for us here throughout the season, and I'm sure it'll continue to be, for any game that we play.
Thanks.
Next we have Mark Weiser, the Athens Banner-Herald.
Hey, Nick, when you think about the way you won championships when Kirby was there, could you have envisioned offensively what your teams look like now with Tua and those receivers along with still running the ball well?
Well, I think what we've always tried to do on offense, and I don't think it gets recognized much, but, we've changed our offense quite a bit relative to what our players are capable of doing. And I said, before the season started this year, we're going to have a different kind of team this year, and it certainly worked out to be that way. But, and I think it's the best personality for this group on offense that we could possibly have relative to the players that we have. And I think the challenge is to get them to continue to execute and improve in some of the areas that we've not been as efficient in, and try to focus on improvement and getting better. And when you play better teams, the little things that you don't do correctly, they don't get you till they get you. So we need to get those things fixed.
And when you think of Quentin Williams, when did you think he would emerge into the type of player we see now, and what does it allow you to do, run your defense, when you have someone as impactful as him?
Well, he certainly has had an outstanding year for us, no doubt. And, we always knew Q was a little undersized earlier in his career. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's a really good athlete. He's got really good initial quickness, and he's certainly been very productive for us this year. And it's been very helpful because, we went into the season thinking that was an area of concern, is how we could rebuild the defensive line. And him emerging as a very, very good player has certainly contributed, positively to that group and our success on defense.
Thanks.
Next is Mike Griffith of Dog Nation.
Coach, most of the programs that have had the consistent championship success that your program has had a certain level of continuity on the coaching staff. You've been able to maintain a great level of success without necessarily having the same coordinators year in and year out. What would you attribute that most to?
Well, first of all, I think we've had a lot of really good people, and I think that continuity is something that you always look for or like on your staff, but most of the guys that have gone on to better opportunities here is what they work for, so that they would have those opportunities, and we're certainly happy that they were able to get them, and that's why they all work. That's what I did when I was an assistant coach as well. So when you have to replace people, you want to get quality people who are going to be a good fit, in your organization, and they're going to bring new enthusiasm and ideas, and you try to incorporate that without changing the philosophy of what you want to do as a team. And I think, we're very fortunate that the guys we hired this year certainly have done that extremely well.
To follow up on that, it's a pretty well-known, fascinating statistic, your record against former assistants. Other programs that know exactly what you do at Alabama, that know the philosophy, what would you attribute that run of success you've had against your former assistants to?
Well, I think that, all those things are circumstantial. Obviously, Georgia's got the best teams in the country. Kirby's built that there and improved that circumstance so that they are one of the best teams in the country. A lot of the guys that we've played against in the past that are our assistants, they were rebuilding programs that were down and hadn't had an opportunity to build them up. So it's not always been a level playing field, but we certainly have a lot of respect for Georgia and what they've done and what they're capable of, and we're going to do everything we can to try to get our players ready to, be ready for the challenge.
Next we'll go to Steve Moulton of WDZN.
Hey, Coach, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
LeBron Ray and how he played in the Iron Bowl, especially how he stepped up after the injury to Isaiah Buggs. How would you evaluate the development of LeBron Ray, Coach?
He's done a good job for us. He's played well for us all year long. He's gotten a little bigger and a little stronger. He's playing with a lot more confidence now. He's got a little more power at the point. He's athletic. He can run. He plays hard. He's a really good competitor. He's smart. So we're very pleased with the way he's developed for us and played for us this year.
The development of your secondary, if you could speak on that, and could Keaton Anderson play Maiden's role in Saturday's championship game?
Oh, we'll have to evaluate that and see, where we go from there. You gotta do what you prepared for relative to backups when you go into a game, and we have a week here to decide, what the best thing is for us to do there. But Keaton did a pretty good job in the game.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, Coach, that's going to wrap you up today. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you and everyone in Atlanta on Friday.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.